Hello. This is our first book talk for
Book club.
Book talk for Our Stories, Our Songs. African Children Talk About AIDS by Deborah Ellis.
It's pretty depressing.
It is very depressing. And here we have Jana, Tayler, and I'm Gracelyn. All right, Jana's our discussion director, so she's going to start.
Okay, so while reading pages 1 through 16, specifically where the kids talked about their education in schools, do you think that we take the things that are in our lives today for granted? Why?
Yes, because they're talking about how amazing it was just to have a desk.
Yeah, that's
because they felt like
they
so
were
powerful.
pooping themselves, not literal, but like they were losing it over like such a like a cheap child-built desk. Like these desks weren't like pre-made; they were already like here's a bunch of old wood, make a desk, and they were like, oh my god, a desk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was reading.
And they're talking about like how some of them had only gone to the 4th grade and some of them were taking the test again.
Yeah, there's a 17-year-old in grade 2.
Yeah.
And just how they were talking about their future.
Yeah,
and
how they wish they could go to school.
And how much they needed an education.
Yeah, some of the kids were actually like sick too with like malaria and stuff like that.
Yeah, and a lot of their parents had died, and so getting an education.
No, every bunch of their parents.
Every one of their
died.
parents had died, so getting education would be like the only thing that would give them a future.
Yeah.
And I totally think that we take that for granted.
Yeah.
So we're just like, ew, school.
We're like,
I know.
But it really gives us a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you think the lives of the children that are now AIDS orphans have changed? Do you think some of the children were and still are affected from the loss of their parents?
Yes, because your parents are like, well, at least in North America, your parents are like your guide for like the first like 20 years of your life.
Yeah, and for some of them, like if their parents had died really young, I don't think it was
Yeah,
obviously
like-
a big deal, but it didn't affect them as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's something to counter that. When you're little, like the only person you know is your mom and dad.
Yeah.
One day they're not there anymore. You're like, Mom, Dad, and like, yeah.
So I
sad.
guess like if you're older, you take it.
But then you look at the teenagers and their parents have died, and then they really have to start thinking for themselves.
Yeah. They
And
grow
so-
up really young.
Yeah, it's just really hard regardless of what age you are anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so why do you think that most of the children do not know how their parents died?
Well, I don't think that they have the resources to learn about the diseases that their parents are getting.
Yeah.
I think that people just don't tell them because they don't want to know, like, because none of them know what AIDS is.
Yeah, so
because,
lack of
like,
understanding.
Yeah, it's really harsh circumstances too.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think anyone wants them to know what's
And maybe
going
not,
on.
They
like
wouldn't,
their guardians don't want them introduced.
and they
to that.
wouldn't want them to think any lower of their parents.
Yeah.
So I think they just sort of kept it at sick.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was the passage maker, and I chose the last paragraph on page 6. If everyone would turn their mask. Okay, I'll read it. This was from the entry about Victor, who was 12, when she visited him when she was in Zambia. Okay, so it says, math was my favorite subject in school. It always works. If you know how to do it, and you can do it properly, math always comes out the way it should. It's clean and makes sense. Some kids didn't like math and made messes of their work, but I like seeing the numbers all straight in rows. If I ever get to go back to school, I would train to be an accountant because that is all about numbers and straight rows. So I chose this passage, especially like from my point of view because I really hate math.
Yeah.
But this kid, Victor, loves it because it's always, like there's no uncertainty. And so when you're like him and your life could change almost instantly,
Yeah, his life is.
math is something that's dependable almost.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool that he loved math, not for the sense of just doing the math, but for the fact that it was always
OCD,
so
like-
certain.
Because his life wasn't.
And he talked about like how he wasn't in school anymore. And if he got to go back, that's what he would do. So he's thinking about his future.
I like that because he was thinking about his future in a positive way. He's like, yeah, I want to like become an accountant and be like accounting.
You don't.
I don't know what accountants do. Don't they count the money?
They work in banks, yeah.
Yeah,
But you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
meet a lot of 12-year-olds who are like, I want to become an accountant. And this kid has like
Yeah.
a lack of education, but he's in love with math. So I guess I just hope that he
Yeah.
becomes an accountant. Fulfill his dreams. Okay, Taylor, you're the connection maker.
Okay, these are gonna be on the spot because I was out Friday
Alright,
and I
let's
couldn't get my
just
work.
Connect.
So text to text connection is, I forget the name of the book, but there was this other book I read once about AIDS in Africa, and it was like also really. I think it was by Deborah Ellis too, because she writes AIDS books sometimes. I don't know. Text to self. I can't really relate to AIDS because I've never known someone with AIDS, and I don't know anyone who's died of AIDS or any of that. But text to self that I read another book. No, that won't work. Text to self because.
I would say text to self because these kids are like our age.
Yeah, these kids are very, like, most of them are, like, 12 and 13 and 14 and stuff. So, like, that's kind of, like, depressing that these kids our age are running around on the streets trying to, like, live and stuff.
So, yeah,
and text to world, that this crap actually goes on and no one really does anything about it. Like, what I don't like, though, is, like, people waste so much money on making awareness. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all know what AIDS and breast cancer is. Problem is, people waste so much money on ads. Like, get involved. Well, imagine donating $12 million it costs to make that ad to, like, actually doing research and stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's really bad in some parts of the world, and we're not as familiar with it here. Yeah. Because the majority of the
There's
population
so
doesn't
much
have it.
protection everywhere.
So it can be like self-centered of some of our government not to worry about the rest of the world. But it's not something I'm extremely familiar with either.
Yeah.
No, I've never gotten AIDS, just for the record. Never stated I didn't get AIDS.
You actually did research
I don't
about
have
AIDS,
AIDS.
right?
No. I was a vocabulary enricher.
Okay, vocabulary enricher.
Okay, so the first word I decided to define was AIDS.
See, I was
Since
close.
that was like, this is what the book's talking about. So AIDS stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome, a condition caused by a virus in which certain white blood cells are destroyed, resulting in loss of the body's ability to protect itself against disease. AIDS is transmitted by sexual intercourse through infected blood and blood products.
And what did you know previously about it?
I never really know what AIDS, like, because I knew how it was transmitted and stuff. I never actually, like, really thought of the white blood cells and stuff like that.
I think there's a movie called Philadelphia, I think, with Tom Hanks in it, and he has AIDS, and that was the first time that I was ever really introduced to it.
Yeah, I used to watch this TV show.
But, like, this, like, the fact that it's actually happening to children and their parents,
Yeah.
like, that's the side of it that I never learned about before.
Yeah. Okay, so on page 10 it says children do back-breaking labor as brickmakers on farms and factories and in brothels. Brothels is
The prostitute house.
It's a house of prostitution. So I guess it's a house or other place where men pay to have sexual intercourse with prostitutes.
Is that what you thought it was?
No.
I did not know that
Wait,
either.
it sounds kind of like a fancy church. I don't know why. I think
was
about it.
like
Wow.
something warm. I don't know.
That's
Just like
a
this.
whole
Like a
new
soup.
meaning
Yeah, that's
into
like
it.
soup broth. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
I
I
was
thought
thinking.
of. That's exactly what I thought of.
Soup house.
Okay.
What it is. But
Like-
that totally gives it a whole new theme to that
Yeah, and
little
look.
section.
It's right here.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow. All right.
yeah. Okay. So my third word was malaria. Malaria is a mosquito-borne infectious disease of humans and other animals caused by female mosquitoes. It is a life-threatening disease that causes headaches, vomiting, nausea, the chills, and shaking. So I know someone that got malaria. They weren't here though. They were somewhere in Africa. But
Is that the
Was
one
it
where
either
it's like
malaria?
you
I
get
don't
the
know, they got
tents,
some-
right? Because it's mosquito
yeah,
spread.
Yeah, the
And so you can
mosquito.
pay like $10 and it gives a child like a tent to live in
yeah.
so they don't
And
catch
then,
it.
like, and then you get needles or whatever.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, my friend got that. Okay. So so on page 2, I think they use the word congested to describe a low-income neighborhood. So
Congested?
yeah, congested. Okay, so congest is to crowd or become crowded to access. So this is like to overfill.
All I know from like congestion, I think of like nasal congestion. Off
Yeah.
of like the NyQuil commercials.
Yeah, yeah.
And it means there's like
No,
lots
that's
of
not
crap in
NyQuil,
your
that's
nose.
something else.
That's all I've ever heard it.
When I think of congestion, I think of like snot and stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Like
you know.
illness. Yeah. But that does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was the social justice seeker. And I sort of looked into child labor because that's something that wasn't really directly initiated in the first couple pages, but they clearly mentioned it.
Yeah.
So I went to UNICEF, like .org.com, because that's where the book has all the royalties donated to them.
Yeah.
So when it said that more than 150 million children are forced to work by the end of the day, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then in Zambia, which is